The heat that day was mean. Not the kind of southern warmth that kissed your skin and made you slow dance under porch lights. No, this was angry heat. The kind that sat on your chest and dared you to breathe wrong. Larkspur Ridge, Tennessee had plenty of steamy days, but this one felt different, like the sky was holding its breath. I was just finishing the lunch shift at Dell's Kitchen, my little red brick diner off Highway 12. Wiped down the last table, checked the cornbread in the warmer. Took a moment to lean on the counter and catch my breath. That's when I heard it, the unmistakable crunch of gravel outside, sharp, aggressive. Didn't sound like a customer pulling in. It sounded like trouble. I stepped out onto the porch, the screen door creaking behind me. The smell of fried catfish and sweat hit me like a wave. And then I saw it. 2 sheriff's deputies. One was thick in the shoulders, jaw like a bulldozer. The other, younger, twitchy, sunburn creeping up his neck, had Mason Callahan slammed against a motorcycle. His motorcycle. Grizz, folks called him. Been coming to Dell's for years. Quiet man. Never caused a ruckus. Sat in the corner booth. Drank his coffee black. Always paid in cash. Always tipped in 50s. I'd seen him help an old woman change her tire in the rain once. Never even told her his name. And now he was face first against a bike while these 2 clowns twisted his arm back like they were posing for a trophy shot. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just moved, dropped the towel, pulled out my phone, walked down those steps like I had fire in my heels and the Lord in my chest. "Hey," I called, sharp enough to cut glass. Both deputies turned. The young one squinted. "Ma'am, I need you to go back inside." I kept walking, not fast, not loud, just steady. "I know this man," I said, raising my phone. "He's a customer at my diner. What's he being charged with?" "He's resisting," the older one muttered without looking up. Grizz grunted. I pulled over to get water. "That's it. Told you that." "He's got gang connections," the twitchy one added. "Suspicious vest, tattoos, You mean a leather vest and a beard?" I said. "In a biker town?" The silence that followed told me everything I needed. They had nothing. No warrant, no call. Just a man who looked like trouble to them. And they were determined to make it real. I took another step, recording the whole thing. "You got a charge, read it out loud. Otherwise, let him go. I got half the county's working folk eating biscuits in there, and I ain't about to let y'all make a scene on my doorstep." The younger one stepped toward me. "Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to lower the phone. You're gonna need to stop twisting a man's shoulder in front of witnesses," they say. I snapped. "This ain't your yard. It's mine." The older one sighed, released Grizz's arm. "You're lucky," he muttered to Grizz. "No," I said. "He's right. You're lucky. Because if you dislocated something, I'd have your badge framed on my wall." They left, just like that. Grizz looked at me like I'd pulled a sword out of stone. "You didn't have to do that," he said, voice low. "Yes, I did," he nodded, just once, then fired up that engine and rode off like a ghost that refused to be buried. I didn't post the video for likes, didn't add a caption, didn't even tag the location. But truth, it doesn't need a spotlight. It finds its own. By midnight, the clip had 40,000 views. By sunrise, 2 million. By breakfast, a news van from Channel 8 in Nashville parked across from my lot with its satellite dish spinning like a radar. And just like that, Dell's Kitchen wasn't just a diner anymore. It was the epicenter of a storm I hadn't seen coming. By the next morning, Dell's Kitchen didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a spotlight, too hot, too bright, and aimed square at my chest. The morning crowd came in quieter than usual. Eyes darted. Conversation stalled when I walked by with a coffee pot. Some regulars didn't show up at all. Others ordered like they were scared being seen talking to me might be a problem. And then the whispers started. At the counter, in the booths, at the food right on Carter Street. She shouldn't have gotten involved. She's stirring things up. She made that video go viral on purpose. Not one of those folks asked if Grizz was okay. I found the first hate note taped to the diner window just after lunch rush. "Mind your kitchen, not the law. No envelope, just marker on paper. Bold, ugly." I didn't cry, didn't flinch, just peeled it off, tossed it in the trash, and went right back to ladling gumbo. But that night, after I locked up, I noticed something else. A deep scratch along the side of my truck. Someone had taken a key or a nail and etched the word "traitor" right into the paint. I stood there staring at it while the crickets chirped and the cicadas screamed like they were mourning something. I'd seen worse. Hell, I'd survived worse. But this was home turning on me, and that cut deep. Friday morning, the bell above the door jingled just as I was plating eggs. I didn't even need to look up. I could feel him. Sheriff Randall Givens. Tall, trim, always looked like he was one speech away from running for mayor. The kind of man who treated power like a birthright. He didn't smile, didn't nod, just stepped inside like the air belonged to him. I wiped my hands on a towel and met him at the counter. Sheriff, I said. Delilah, he replied. We need a word. I motioned to the empty booth by the window. Go ahead, I'm listening. He didn't sit. That video's got the whole county watching. And folks are saying it made us look bad. I stared at him. Y'all did that yourselves. All I did was press record. You don't know who that man is. I know exactly who he is, I said. More importantly, I know what I saw. And so does half the country now. He leaned in slightly, voice low. You're inflaming things. This could get dangerous. I stepped closer. Don't mistake calm for fear, Randall. I've buried a husband, raised 3 kids, served this town for 22 years. You think I'm scared of a few angry men in boots? He straightened. You've made things complicated. No, I said, I made them visible. That night, as the dinner crowd thinned, the ground started rumbling. Engines, low, deep, like thunder with purpose. They didn't roll in fast. They rolled in like they belonged. Grizz was at the front. Same bike, same vest, same slow, deliberate dismount. Only this time, he wasn't alone. A dozen riders followed, then 2 dozen more. They parked with precision, lining up like parade floats made of chrome and grit. When the last one shut his engine off, the lot was silent, except for the cicadas and the click of cooling engines. I stepped outside and folded my arms. You bringing trouble to my doorstep? I asked. Grizz took off his helmet and looked me square in the eye. No, ma'am. We came to eat. I blinked. All 200 of you? He gave the faintest smile. Word got out. You stood up. Didn't have to. But you did. That means something. I looked past him at the wall of riders. Men and women. Some old. Some barely 30. Tattoos, vests, weathered faces, but their eyes grateful. Respectful. I didn't do it for thanks, I said. Didn't have to, he replied. But you got it anyway. Inside the diner, things got real quiet. Kinsey, my teenage waitress, dropped a tray when the first biker walked in. Are we going to get robbed? She whispered. No, I said, grabbing a stack of menus. We're going to get tipped real well. And we did. Every single one of them sat like a guest, not a soldier. They said please, said thank you. Ordered plates like they were ordering memories. Ribs, greens, peach cobbler. One of them folded $100 bill under his plate without a word. But outside those walls, the town kept shifting. The stairs got longer, colder. That weekend, I saw a group of men park across the road in an old rusted truck. 3 of them I recognized, used to come in on Fridays for meatloaf. Now they just sat and watched. One of them, arms folded, shouted, "How long you gonna let them take over this town?" I stepped onto the porch and locked eyes with him. They're customers, just like you. If you got something to say it to my face. He spit on the gravel. Ain't gonna eat next to some damn gang. Grizz, who had been sitting on the bench sipping sweet tea, stood slowly, but I raised a hand. They came to eat. You came to yell. One of us is wasting breath. The man got back in the truck and peeled off. But he'd made one thing clear. Some people weren't afraid of lies. They were afraid of change. By Sunday, half the county had drawn a line. Some stood with me. Others wished I'd stayed quiet. And on Monday, a man from my past walked through the door. But I'll get to that. Because something else happened first. Something that made everything real. The firehouse, the nursing home staff, and the janitors at the school all received anonymous hot meal deliveries. 20 plates each. Handwritten note on top of each tray. Courtesy of the lady who stood up. Kinsey handed me the list of orders, eyes wide. The bikers pulled together money, she whispered. Said it was from you. I didn't cry. Not then. But my hand shook as I fired up the grill. Because sometimes, revenge ain't loud. Sometimes it walks in wearing denim and pays in 20s. Sometimes it starts with respect and ends with reckoning. The first time Sheriff Givens walked into Dell's kitchen, he came alone. The second time, he brought backup. The bell over the door jingled like usual, but the energy changed instantly. The room went still. Coffee mugs paused midair. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. I turned from the counter. 3 men stood there, Givens in the middle. 2 new deputies at his sides, arms folded, eyes scanning the room like they were raiding a saloon. Kinsey froze at the soda machine. I wiped my hands on a towel and stepped around the counter. Sheriff, I said, you come to eat? No, he said. I came to talk. Then talk. In private. I crossed my arms. There ain't no private here today. You got something to say? You say it in front of everybody. His eyes flicked toward the crowded booths, the bikers, the truckers, the teachers, and tired mamas. Then back to me. We've had reports, he said, about threats, intimidation, from some of your patrons. From who? I asked. Far as I can tell, the only folks threatening anybody are wearing badges. One of the deputies took a step forward. Given stopped him with a glance. You're running a business, Delilah, not a circus. You ever seen a circus this respectful? I said. These people order, tip, and leave. No fights, no damage. What's the real issue? They're sending a message, he said, voice sharp. Good, I replied. So am I. For a second, I thought he might lunge. Instead, he leaned in, just enough for his voice to carry like smoke. You keep this up, things will get difficult. I leaned in too. They already are, but I ain't scared of hard endings, Sheriff. Only scared of quiet wrongs. Given stared at me like he was trying to burn a hole through my soul. Then he turned and walked out. The deputies followed, eyes still scanning like they were trying to find a reason to stay. They didn't. But the message was clear. He was coming for me. And if I didn't fight smart, I wouldn't survive it. That night I sat in the back booth with Grizz, a half-empty pot of coffee between us. You know this ain't over, he said. I know. He watched me for a long moment. Word is, he said, the sheriff's office has been dirty for years. Targeting people, burying complaints. I believe it. You got any proof? Not yet, I said. Want some? That's when the real revenge started. Grizz and a few of his brothers began asking around. Nothing loud, nothing illegal. Just old school loyalty and boots on the ground. Meanwhile, I got to work. Pulled up invoices, payment records, my own security camera footage. Then I started hearing stories. From a local EMT, from the woman who cleaned City Hall, from a teacher who left town 2 years ago without saying goodbye. The picture was forming, and it was worse than I thought. Turns out the sheriff's department had been using town funds to pay for training sessions at resorts. Turns out one of the deputies was running a tow yard that conveniently got all the bikes they impounded without paperwork. Turns out that call about Grizz being suspicious never happened. I made copies, stashed them in 3 different places, one on a flash drive in my apron, one with Grizz, one hidden in an old flour tin behind the dry goods. Then I made the call. To an old friend, Kendra Mahoney, local radio journalist turned regional firebrand, used to eat at my diner every Tuesday back before she went national. I sent her everything, with one message: if I disappear, publish it. She didn't respond with words, just a single flame emoji. 2 days later, the article hit. Small town sheriff accused of corruption targeting local businesses and minorities. With photos, documents, names. Mine wasn't in the byline, but everyone knew who fed it. The fallout was instant. TV vans lined the highway again. This time, they weren't asking for a quote. They were asking for statements from the sheriff's office. Randall Givens? Disappeared. Gone on sabbatical. The town council held an emergency meeting. Deputy resignations started rolling in like dominoes. And me? I didn't say a word. I just made sweet tea and kept the ribs hot. But the most unexpected moment came 3 nights later. A man walked into the diner near closing. Suit jacket, briefcase, nervous eyes. He slid a photo across the counter. A young man, dirty, beaten, missing teeth. I think you patched him up once, the man said. I froze. That's my brother. He passed last year. Always said there was a nurse in Larkspur Ridge who saved his life after a crash. Said she didn't care about the vest. Only asked if he could walk. My throat tightened. Didn't know he passed, I whispered. He made me promise, the man said. Come find her. Thank her. I didn't speak. Just piled ribs and greens into a tray and slid it across. No charge, I said. As he left, I looked out across the room and saw what I'd built. Not a restaurant, not a rebellion, a safe place, where respect didn't depend on uniforms, where people could sit next to strangers and leave feeling seen. The sheriff tried to make me a lesson. Instead, I became the example. And that, right there, was the sweetest revenge of all. Monday morning came slow and quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't mean peace. It means everyone's waiting to see what happens next. But for the first time in weeks, I wasn't afraid to open the door. The air was crisp, the sky was pale blue and honest. The diner smelled like bacon, biscuits, and fresh brewed coffee. The kind of smell that could make even a ghost feel welcome. The booths filled up fast. Not with reporters, not with gawkers, locals, travelers, a teacher with a stack of quizzes to grade. A woman with a crying toddler and eyes that begged for 5 minutes of stillness. No one asked about the sheriff. No one mentioned the article. They didn't need to. They just ordered their food, paid their bills, and left generous tips. Near the window, Grizz sat with his coffee, legs stretched out from an old injury that ached when the weather changed. "You good?" he asked, watching me refill the sweet tea. I nodded. "Better than him." He chuckled, then turned serious. "Word is Givens lawyered up. State's already circling. They'll find what they need," I said. Kendra made sure of it. "You ever think it'd come to this?" "No," I said, "but I never thought I'd stand by and let it happen either." He sipped. "You ever think about running?" "For sheriff?" He shrugged. "For mayor, for governor, for queen of the damn South." "People listen to you." I laughed. Full belly, full heart. "No," I said. "I think I'll just keep frying catfish and telling the truth." That afternoon, I got a letter. No return address, just my name on the envelope in blocky, careful handwriting. Inside was a photo. A woman, young, hair pulled back, stethoscope around her neck. Me, 20 years younger, and a note. "Thank you for saving my son. You never knew me, but I never forgot you. E.M." I sat there a long time staring at that photo, the note in my lap, the past rising like heat off summer pavement. I remembered him now, the crash just outside of Knoxville, blood in the gravel, a leather vest torn and soaked. No one else would touch him, but I did. That night after closing, I locked the doors and stood alone in the kitchen. The place was quiet, but not empty. The walls held stories now, not all mine. Some were stitched into the vinyl of the booths. Some clung to the grease above the stove. Some wrote in, "On bikes and left behind more than dollars. Respect, truth, witness." The phone rang just past 10 p.m. I almost didn't answer. "Dell's kitchen," I said, flipping the light off above the counter. The voice on the other end was low, familiar, tired. "Delilah Moore?" the man asked. "Yes." "My name's Carter. I've got a situation down in Auburn Parish, Louisiana. My sister runs a diner. She tried to stand up to a local deputy. They shut her down." My chest went cold. "She said you might be able to help." I didn't answer right away, just stared at the lights across the lot, blinking in the distance. "I'm not a lawyer," I said. "I'm not a politician." "No," he said, "but you're the one who started the fire." I didn't smile, but I felt something shift in my bones. "You got a name for that diner?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "May's Table." I looked at the keys hanging by the door, then back at the note from the mother who remembered. Then I whispered, "Tell her I'm on my way." In Larkspur Ridge, Tennessee, Dell's Kitchen became more than a diner. It became a beacon, and in towns across the South, whispers started spreading. "There's a woman, wears an apron, doesn't back down." Some people feared her. Some people praised her. But no one doubted this. She stood up when standing was hard. And she didn't do it for fame or money or revenge. She did it because silence is a choice, and hers was long over.